Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Yes, cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Oh, thank you, Dan Michaels. Welcome back, everybody. It's Hour 2, Toker Talk Radio, 4:02 in the Pacific Time Zone, which is a dyslexic's time to smoke pot. If you can tell, I'm having a good time. It's been a hell of a weekend. I was at the International Cannabis Business Conference, and Herb Thrasher was at the Boston Freedom Rally. His first time in Boston, and his first event, solo coverage for 420 Radio. He'll be flying in soon. He had a layover in LAX, and I saw a couple flight delays come through, but he'll be over soon, and we will get video from Herb Thrasher. He stayed, folks, get this, he stayed with Dave Tree from the band Tree, man. That's just so perfect. I'm sure he had a great time too. I'm going to give my thanks to the vendors at the International Cannabis Business Conference. Many of them stopped by to do vendor interviews. I had this brilliant flash of an idea at the last event I did, which was, hey, maybe these vendors ought to give me money for these interviews I do. Because I go to all these events and I interview these vendors, right? But here's the deal, right? I'll do the interview for free. We'll interview for free because I like the content, and frankly, it's a public service. Everybody deserves this education, right? But if they want the MP3 and they want to use it in their advertising or their promotions or whatever, well, then there's the comeback. So I actually made money at this event. It was just, wow, this is amazing. This can actually work. So, what do you know? 6 years stumbling around in the dark. I'm finally figuring out how to get paid. Anyway, it was a great event. Had a really good time. We got another vendor interview we're going to give you here in the next segment. David Garcia Diaz from MJ Freeway, who I think I met in Florida at one of the events as well. So today is like software day. We spoke with Raja Afrika in hour 1. Hour 2, we get David Garcia Diaz from MJ Freeway, which is another marijuana software vendor. And this is just wonderful. Seed to sale tracking and the regulations and all the different regulations in the different states, because, it's not federalized yet, is a huge, huge opportunity, a huge market for software developers. And with so much of the software development that's been, outsourced and offshored, I should say. This is really good news to see, Raja's in Oregon. He's an Oregon company. We'll hear from David Garcia Diaz in the next segment about their company. Also, big thanks to Alex Rogers and Anthony Johnson and everybody involved with International Cannabis Business Conference for having me be a part of it, getting me a booth there. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. And then to go with all of that, so in addition to Herb being out there in Boston and me being at the ICBC, we also put up a GoFundMe page for this Oregon marijuana shenanigans that we're investigating. Oregon marijuana election shenanigans. And, it was because I got this bill from Clatsop County. We were trying to get Josh Marquis' email, his phone records, and his internet searches. And, that you can try to get it for free, but, then you're haggling and it takes time. And, we got an election coming up, right? So I figure, hey, let's just see if people want to spend some money on me doing some investigative snooping. And lo and behold, over the weekend, we raised the $2,000 we were asking for. So today I sent out all the requests, got the addresses and everything for sending the checks out for the records requests, and we'll be bringing you all that coverage here on 420 Radio, on the Russ Belville Show, all the way up until election time. When I know, you'll know. Also, coming up, we've got the Portland Hemp Stock at the end of this month. That will be on Saturday and Sunday, the 27th and 28th. That is at the Portland waterfront, back to the waterfront where it was when I first came here to Oregon 11 years ago. And if you've ever been to Tom McCall Waterfront Park, you know the Waterfront Blues Fest. You look through my photo feed, the Radical Russ photo feed online. Look for the 4th of July Waterfront Blues Fest. You'll see some of my shots of the bowl where we'll be set up for the hemp stock. It's going to be off the chain. Herb Thrasher will be running a metal stage too, so we'll be spending a lot of time there. So stay tuned for that as well. We love covering the policy, the news, the statistics, the analysis, the opinions. But we also like covering the culture too. So you're going to get business conferences, you're going to get medical conferences, and you're going to get hemp fests and cannabis cups as well. It's all right here on 420radio.org, the voice of the marijuana nation. Also, want to remind you, make sure you're registered to vote. If you're an Oregonian listening, we got to get Measure 91 passed, and we're all vote by mail. And if you've moved recently, did you get your May primary ballot? If you didn't get your May primary ballot in the mail, you need to register so that you get your November election ballot in the mail and you vote yes on 91 so that we have the best marijuana legalization on planet Earth. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got Cannabis Chronicles from the ICBC.
Elitist. Just like any other dishwashing, burger flipping, public school educated, self-employed, bar band, musician, National Guardsman, he's Radical Russ.
We got more Josh Marquis articles coming up as well, and we've been picked up by a new website, JoshMarquisExposed.com. Yeah, somebody's taken to it to catalog the lies, misdirections, deceits, half-truths, and obfuscations of Clatsop County District Attorney Josh Marquis. JoshMarquisExposed.com. Check it out right now while we're on commercial. .420 Radio, your ticket to the High Times Cannabis Cups.
Mike Schwab is a former middle school science and math teacher. Currently, he works with Children Daily as an after-school program leader.
Currently, kids have easy access to marijuana with little understanding of its impact. We can take better care of our kids through Measure 91 with strict regulations and funding for proven marijuana education and prevention programs to keep kids from using it. Under our current marijuana laws, one mistake can ruin a life. Measure 91 removes unfairly harsh punishment for marijuana offenses and gets more tax money to local police and drug prevention. Vote yes on 91.
420radio.org is proud to replay Hemp Beach TV with Blazy and Max from the Secret Hemp Beach. Blazy and Max bring you the best festivals and events from all over the country in this weekly show courtesy of Hemp Beach TV. Entertaining video and lots of fun for the 420 friendly party crowd. Catch the replays Friday at 12 Pacific on 420 Radio.
Hi, I'm Richard Harris. I'm the former director of addictions and mental health for the state of Oregon. Drug treatment and prevention are woefully underfunded right now. Measure 91 will better fund drug treatment and prevention programs. Marijuana isn't going anywhere. We're not stopping it with the war on drugs. You have to remember that marijuana is a pretty benign drug. It doesn't have the usual dependency features of, say, heroin or alcohol abuse. Now, marijuana feeds drug cartels and fuels violence. We can crack down on that. Take the money from drug cartels and, by the law, spend it on law enforcement, treatment, and education. Criminalizing marijuana is just no way to solve the problem. That's why treatment people like me are supporting Measure 91.
Welcome, everyone, to the International Cannabis Business Conference. I'm Russ Belville with 420 Radio and the Russ Belville Show, bringing you our coverage of the two-day event here at the Oregon Convention Center in beautiful Portland, Oregon. We're just about ready to get the main keynote speeches going, and we'll be hearing from all sorts of great folks. Andrew Sullivan is here. He will be speaking, giving one of the keynote addresses. Representative Earl Blumenauer, my congressman. I'm so proud to get to vote for the man. He will be delivering a keynote speech as well. That'll be coming up very shortly. All day here we'll be interviewing the vendors and attendees of the International Cannabis Business Conference. We'll be replaying these interviews all throughout next week's shows on the Russ Belville Show. Every weekday, 3 p.m. Pacific Time, replays at 6 p.m. on 420radio.org. If you'd like to be interviewed, just let me know. We'll start taking a list and checking it twice. We'll get your interview here on 420 Radio, and we can also offer you an MP3 file of the interview for your use in promotional purposes. Let everyone know what you were doing at the International Cannabis Business Conference. Follow my Twitter account at Radical Russ. We will be tweeting all day long, live tweeting the events here at the International Cannabis Business Conference. Also follow INTLCBC on Twitter for more information. Back to the music. We'll have interviews coming up shortly. That's Curtis Mayfield with The Pusher. Radical Russ here on our 420 Radio coverage of the International Cannabis Business Conference. And joining me at the desk now, we've got David Garcia-Diaz. He's an account manager with MJFreeway.com, who's presenting here at the conference. David, welcome.
Thank you.
And I believe we've spoken before. Didn't we meet in Florida, was it?
No, in Atlanta.
Atlanta, there we go. I knew it was somewhere in the South, but good to have you back on again. Tell folks about MJ Freeway.
So, we're a company that provides traceability systems and seed-to-sale tracking for marijuana businesses. That's anyone who's growing, processing, dispensaries. We're in the recreational and medical markets. Mm-hmm. And we're currently in 17 states and D.C., wow. As well as Canada and Europe.
Wow. All right. So I'm imagining then we're talking about the medical states and their regulatory schemes, and every medical state is quite different as far as their regulations. So I imagine your software has to be somewhat user configurable.
Somewhat. We configure it for each state.
Oh, I see.
So we'll
kind of like TurboTax. You get the state. Okay,
I guess so. Yeah, and we'll set up your labels. We'll set up your reporting. Anything that the state requires, we'll make sure that you're compliant with.
Excellent, excellent. All right. So, and as we're rolling out legalization in Washington and Colorado and hopefully Oregon and Alaska and Washington, D.C. coming up, that's just more opportunity, I'm sure, for the company. MJFreeway.com is what we're talking about here. And, of course, when people are wanting to do this seed-to-sale tracking system, they're also going to have to integrate with, their bookkeeping software or their accounting software and those sort of things. How does that work with yours?
Well, we actually integrate with QuickBooks.
Okay.
So we have an add-on to any version of MJ Freeway that you can use that will export all of your data natively, all of your financial data into QuickBooks. And it's basically a one-step process, and it's super easy.
All right, so how did you get involved in wanting to do this sort of software? Was there a previous sort of tracking software you were involved with? Or?
No, so this actually came about, our owners started the company when Colorado started doing regulations for medical marijuana, and
about 2009-ish?
Yeah, 2009. And they saw an opportunity in this space, and one of the owners of the company was involved with a dispensary, and they were looking for software to use, and there wasn't really anything suitable. So both of the founders have a background in IT and in kind of the technical space.
Excellent. So, now there's a few different companies that are making this sort of software. Why would I want to go with MJ Freeway as my preferred brand?
Well, MJ Freeway is the market leader. We've been around the longest, and we have a product that was built from the ground up for cannabis, 100%. And it's very user-friendly. It's cloud-based, so you can use it on any number of devices. And we have an ongoing development cycle. So as the industry has matured and as things have changed, we've changed with it. And we are constantly adding new features, and we're always listening to what our clients want.
You know, you mentioned it's cloud-based. People thinking of the cloud lately might be thinking of Jennifer Lawrence and Kate Upton and their pictures that got stolen off the cloud. What sort of security are you offering?
Well, we're HIPAA compliant.
Okay.
So that in and of itself establishes a lot of security and backup and kind of requirements for us to abide by. So everything's encrypted. Every single click that is made in the system is tracked. You know, what user went into it, where it was logged in from, and everything can be tracked back to where it went.
Oh, that's good to know. And we're speaking with David Garcia Diaz. He's with mjfreeway.com. You can find him also on Facebook at mjfreeway and Twitter at mjfreeway. And one of the things I would think in trying to make a seed-to-sale tracking software is that your customer base, let's put it this way, may not be the most tech-savvy group compared to maybe some others.
You'd be surprised.
Really?
Yeah. No, our clients range, and we have all kinds of clients. Folks who are not quite as tech-savvy can definitely take advantage of our support. We have an extremely knowledgeable and helpful support team.
So we have tech support. Is there training available?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Support includes unlimited training for the life of the account. So even if you hire new staff after you've been a client for a long time, we're more than happy to train them on how to use it, and we're more than happy to go through retrainings and any kind of help that we can offer you to get you to use the system to the fullest.
Is this a class-based training, online?
Online.
Okay.
We do offer training classes. We also have a professional services division of our company where we do things like on-site trainings, even inventory control plans and application assistance. That's something that we're really involved with right now in Nevada and Illinois. So yeah, we offer a full range of services beyond software as well, but it all comes back to managing your business better and using those tools to the fullest.
What's the price breakdown on your products? I mean, for example, I'm someone who's very, very tech savvy. You throw a piece of software at me, I can figure it out pretty easy. I might not want to pay for training.
Well, the training's included in your subscription.
Okay.
It is cloud-based, so we do all the hosting for you. You don't have to download anything on your computer, store anything locally. So we maintain all of that for you. The pricing depends on which piece of software you're using and how you're combining them together, the feature set.
Okay. Is it like modular?
Yeah,
okay.
It is. So we have a Grow module that's called Grow Tracker.
Okay.
We have Mix Tracker, which is for processing, making infused products, edibles, extracts. And then we have Gram Tracker, which is our point of sale and inventory management tool. That's more geared towards retail and dispensaries.
Okay, so a guy could open a shop and just get the retail part if
exactly.
he wanted.
But when you're talking about places that are vertically integrated like Colorado,
sure,
they might use all of them. And in that case, we'll bundle everything together, and we'll give you a price for the whole thing as it works as one piece of software.
And are we talking about Windows platforms, Mac platforms, Unix? Any, because it's cloud-based,
it's
right?
Cloud-based, yeah.
Right,
so as long as you can run it on Firefox, that's our browser that we recommend.
Okay.
We've got folks using tablets. We've got folks using Macs, PCs.
Smartphone?
We actually even have a mobile version.
Wow. It's fantastic. It's David Garcia Diaz from mjfreeway.com. And before I let you go, anything else you want to tell folks?
We're really excited to be here, and it's an amazing industry and an amazing time.
It sure is, and we're glad you're being a part of it and helping keep this data secure. And, one of the things I like about legalization is giving this legitimacy to something that's been going on for years.
Absolutely. And, software like ours really gives a lot of transparency into what the industry's doing. Governments love this kind of stuff because they can really see that everybody is sticking to compliance, that everybody's going by the rules. And it puts everybody on a level playing field.
I love it. David, thanks for stopping by the desk, and good luck with everything.
Absolutely. Thank you, Russ.
All right, let's go back to some music here. More Stony music from our 420 Radio Music Library. And who do we have on tap here? Gil Scott-Heron. Oh, we're going old school here. This is The Bottle.
From now on, you will speak only when spoken to.
Sir, yes, sir! All right, everybody, it's 4:20 here in the Pacific time zone, and I've got myself a little more 420 friendly shirt. Bacon Dan's calling in. We've got some Roots Monday Daily Toker tunes coming up next, so stay tuned. Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
.420 Radio, turning red states and blue states green.
There's so much I worry about as a mom. Stephen Harper thinks that organized crime should continue to profit from marijuana prohibition. Imagine regulating marijuana like alcohol and cigarettes with a strong and clear educational message, making it more difficult for my kids and your kids to access. Drug dealers don't ask for ID. Stephen Harper does not have the kind of judgment we need to protect our children. Authorized by the NORML.
Despite strong public support for medical cannabis, decriminalization, and legalization in Georgia, the state spends $121 million every year to arrest, prosecute, and imprison Georgians for simple possession. Each year, the state of Georgia spends less on driver services, agriculture, and forestry combined. What else can $121 million a year do in Georgia? With that much money, the state could hire and keep 3,000 more teachers, improve roads and bridges, provide tax relief for small businesses, repair aging sewage systems, or lower taxes. But right now, that's millions of dollars of your tax money wasted on failed enforcement. Tell your representative you're tired of wasteful spending and ask them to end cannabis prohibition. Join the conversation at www.peachtreenormal.org. Peachtree NORML is a proud affiliate of NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws.
Congressman Doc Hastings stood up for Washington's medical marijuana program and patients like Larry Harvey. Larry and his family are being prosecuted by the federal government, even though they were following Washington's 16-year-old medical marijuana law. On May 30th, Congressman Hastings voted for an amendment that would protect Washington's medical marijuana program and its patients from federal interference. Will the next representative from District 4 respect Washington voters? No, before you vote.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio. Are you a hypocrite? If you live a closeted cannabis lifestyle, you are. Read about 7 people living a closeted cannabis lifestyle who are on the verge of coming out in The Hypocrites by Mara K. Eaton. Available at areyouahypocrite.net. You can purchase the book on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, also available on iTunes. Check out Mara K. Eaton on Facebook as well. Learn more at areyouahypocrite.net.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Roots Monday, featuring the blues, country, folk, and jazz music that birthed the modern sounds we enjoy today. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's 24 after the hour, and you smell that? It's bacon! We got Bacon Dan in the room. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great, man. I'm still coming off the awesome high that it was this weekend. I had way too much fun with you, man.
Yeah, did you? It was your first conference, and you got to go to one that was pretty impressive, even to me, and I've been to 1,000 of them, it seems.
Yeah, it was great, and I must say, the Gallo Bellum killed last night at the after party with the comedy. People were crying. They were laughing so hard.
Always does. I love Ngayo's act, and if I hadn't had to been moving furniture last night, I wanted to go so bad. But I'm glad you had a good time.
Oh, definitely. I'm very much enjoying it. I want to give a shout-out to the people from Open Vape. Got to talk to some of them last night, and I'm enjoying some fortune cookie oil right now in my USB chargeable open vape pen. I love it.
Aren't the vape pens just wonderful? Don't you love them?
They are. They're so nice.
You know, there's a camouflage aspect to it when you're out in public. I'm finding now as I'm using vapor pens more that when I smoke weed, I can actually taste what weed tastes like more because I can taste the kind of the smoke, and I can't smoke as much of it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, too much coughing. Hey, also, quick note, Dolink in the chat room says that Tommy Chong's on Dancing with the Stars tonight, and you were talking about how Tommy is quite an accomplished salsa dancer.
Yeah, actually, it's really cool. If you look at their latest DVD release that they did, there is a whole salsa dancing thing with him and his wife, and the two of them are really, really good dancers. So I think Tommy's going to really surprise the hell out of everybody.
Man, we had Cheech Marin win Celebrity Jeopardy, and now we can get Tommy Chong winning Dancing with the Stars. We've come full circle.
Oh, definitely.
Hey, let's talk about today's tune for Roots Monday and our Daily Toker Tunes. It's an old favorite of mine. Tell us all about it.
All right. Okay. Looks like we're going to go with Dancing in the Moonlight. And, I mean, it's just a great song. Anytime this song comes on, I swear, I could be in the middle. I've been at work before when it comes on. I just, stop what I'm doing, just kind of bop along. It's a great song. You know, we had all these super moons going on. We just had the last one last week for the year. So, yeah, let's all get high and dance in the moonlight with Tommy Chong tonight, man.
See, Dancing in the Moonlight. The Liebermater picked the song, man, so we're going to go with it. We'll get back on schedule. We've been away for a few Mondays, haven't we?
Yeah, we definitely have.
I think there was a backlog in the files, and it just picked this one. So you covered very well, though.
Hey, I do what I can. It's a blessing and a curse, sir.
You're like a pro. Hey, and also check out Who's the Ross here in Portland. If you come to town, it's something you definitely want to see. And if you want to see the sights of Portland, Oregon, Bacon Dan is probably the guy to tell you all about it. Let's get to the music. This is King Harvest with the classic Dancing in the Moonlight. This is the original recording on 420 Radio.
That a moon gets so big and bright, it's a supernatural delight. Everybody was dancing in the moonlight. Everybody here is out of sight, but they don't bark and they don't bite. They keep things loose, they keep things alive. Everybody was dancing in the moonlight. Dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine and natural sight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight. We like our fun and we never fight. You can't dance and stay uptight. It's supernatural delight. Everybody was dancing in the moonlight. Dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine and natural sight. Everybody's dancing in the Everybody here is out of sight, but they don't bark and they don't bite. They keep things loose, they keep things alight. Everybody was dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine and natural sight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine and natural sight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight.
Dancing in the Moonlight, that's King Harvest on our Daily Toker Tunes. When we come back, we will play you a segment of Andrew Sullivan's keynote speech at the International Cannabis Business Conference. Daily Dish blogger and conservative commentator delivered a great keynote address. The entire address is available on the Radical Russ YouTube page.
.420 Radio. Tune in, turn on, get highly educated. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com and follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher.
You know, those arrests and citations have real consequences on people's lives. And then in addition to ending the arrest and citation of thousands of people, we will set up a new, responsible, licensed or regulated industry that will follow in the footsteps of our local microbrewery and winery industries and allow businesses to, cultivate a flourishing industry that will create good jobs, generate revenue for the state that'll go to education, public safety, mental health services, drug treatment and drug prevention, all things desperately needed by our state. And very exciting is that it will help us in more states in 2016 and beyond. And as we move forward to end cannabis prohibition, we'll be looking to bridge various political divides, because the fight to end cannabis prohibition really goes across all demographics, all across political ideologies. There are liberal and progressive reasons to end cannabis prohibition, and there are conservative and libertarian reasons to end cannabis prohibition. And our keynote speaker is one of the preeminent political pundits, commentators, authors, bloggers in the nation today, actually in the world today, on a whole host of issues, including ending cannabis prohibition. Andrew Sullivan has fought for marriage equality starting in the late 80s. His blog has carried him across, writing and blogging for The Atlantic, Time, The Daily Beast, and now he has forged his own path independent of any corporate overlords or advertising, pressure to only survive with him and his staff to provide content and insight into a whole host of issues based upon only the subscribers of people that want to listen to his take on the issues of today. He has more than 30,000 subscribers. It's the #1 subscribed blog in the nation. I encourage everybody to check it out. It's The Dish. I search it out religiously, and he's had his readers write into him and talk about their use of cannabis and how they do it responsibly. And it really broke down the stereotypes that the media wants to portray. And it really touched Andrew because it really mimics the fight that he's been in for marriage equality for years. And it's great to have someone like him on our side preaching and really expressing the conservative and libertarian ideals that are at the basis of personal liberty, responsibility, and really he is very important in our fight to end cannabis prohibition and to implement a responsible industry. So please give a warm welcome to Andrew Sullivan.
I have been to a lot of conferences and given a lot of speeches over the years, and I just have 3 words for this one. best conference ever. Hanging out with Alex and Anthony last couple of nights, as many of you may know them, has been a trip. It's been incredibly fun. Everything I always discover with the, let's call it the cannabis community, as it were, some of the nicest, chillest, sanest people I know. So I just want to start by saying I am honored to be here with you guys as you contemplate an extraordinary leap forward that only a little while ago must have seemed completely impossible and quixotic and entirely out of bounds. That's an incredibly exciting feeling. It's full of trepidation, I'm sure, full of energy, full of passion, sometimes full of relief, but there's nothing like that feeling. I remember speaking in Massachusetts before marriage equality came there. I remember going to different states when they were about to face various referendums, and I can feel the same energy here, for the same, in some ways, fundamental reasons. But I wanted to start today by actually just trying to take a little bit of a step back, trying to get a look at some perspective on this, and to ask a really simple question, but a difficult one to answer. Why? Why has this happened? Why has something that only 10 years ago, let alone 20 years ago, seemed crazy and outrageous to so many people, why does it now have majority support in the United States of America? Why is the next generation overwhelmingly in favor of this? Though this doesn't happen with every issue, every contentious issue. It doesn't happen, for example, on the issue of abortion, where the country seems utterly deadlocked and where opinion seems very stable. It doesn't happen on a range of other issues where public support goes up and down depending upon events. This is a remarkable movement in public opinion. It actually mirrors a little bit what happened with marriage equality. And I think to understand where we are, I think it's worth thinking through more thoroughly why we got here and how we did. And I'm going to submit some thoughts about that, which are just thoughts. They're not statements of absolute truth. They're designed to provoke a conversation, not to assert any authority. My first view about this is that public opinion actually matters. The issues actually matter. The arguments actually matter. Now, it's very fashionable to think of politics these days as entirely a function of money. That the only change that ever occurs is really because some very wealthy and powerful interests want to finance it. That everything in Washington is rigged according to big money, and the public debate and arguments, what we think of as a deliberative democracy, is basically irrelevant. And I do not want in any way to diminish the amazing contributions of people like George Soros or the late Peter Lewis in helping fund and finance a movement. That is absolutely integral. But unless you actually have the arguments, unless you can actually get into the public sphere and make them and debate them and win again and again and again, no money can suffice to change the world. Change in America always comes at some level from the bottom up. It's a crazy place to govern. I've studied this politics now for 30 years. That seems to me to be the fundamental truth. People have changed their minds. Lots of people have changed their minds. Probably not many people in this room. I certainly haven't changed my mind on the subject since I became of age. I always thought this is obviously should be legal. But other people have actually listened. And how did they change their minds? And understanding that also helps us sustain the momentum that we've already got. And I would posit that one of the key reasons they've changed their minds is quite simple. Prohibition and the prohibition regime has been based on lies. These lies are quite easily dispelled by reason, by science, by analysis, by simple reason. It is not true that marijuana and cannabis is as toxic or as dangerous as heroin. Not true. And yet, the United States government, the federal government, insists that it be classified as just as dangerous and without any medical use. Now, at some point, that lie will collapse. All lies in the end will collapse. And the prohibitionists have been unable to refine this argument, and their rigidity on this has made them seem increasingly ludicrous. You've probably seen plenty of these congressional hearings. I remember one with Jared Polis questioning someone from, I think it was the FDA or the DEA. And just listening to her answer these questions, she was obviously saying things she didn't believe were true. It's like the end of the Soviet Union. They pretend to believe what they're saying, and the people pretend to accept it. But at some point, everybody at some moment in these movements accepts it's bullshit. And that has a profound impact on the authority and credibility of those sustaining a particular regime. And from glasnost comes perestroika, comes the fall of the regime. It comes from arguments and ideas from the bottom up. And we simply know, and every scientist will tell you, and everybody involved in this will tell you, who knows anything about it, that of course cannabis is not to be classified in the same category as heroin. That's a pretty good start. It means the people that you're trying to argue against don't have the basic facts at their command and don't have the facts to support them. Secondly, of course, it is not true that cannabis has no medical use. The federal government insists it has no medical use whatsoever. That's how it's classified. That's the position of the authorities. It is not true. It is demonstrably not true. It has been proven to be untrue. When so many states already have medical marijuana, the federal government's position is just ludicrous. And people in their lives know, people that they've actually individually met, known, family members, whose lives have been saved by this. I was always, as a basically libertarian person, indifferent to this. I was in favor of it being legal, but I was kind of a passive believer in it. You know, it was a kind of interesting idea. I was prepared to argue it, but I didn't really have a personal stake or a real driving influence to push me to greater commitment. And then, in the early 90s, in my generation, came into the AIDS epidemic. And I saw so many of my friends and my peers, my age and younger, succumb to a horrifying and terrifying disease. And the treatments for this disease, as they began to slowly emerge, put so much stress on people's immune systems and on their essential entire body that they at some points wondered whether they were dying of the disease or of the medications. Nausea, profound, crippling nausea, was absolutely endemic. I had two friends, one of whom could not take the medicines, could not tolerate them, was dying at the age of 30, and couldn't handle the load of chemicals that was being pumped, that he wanted to pump in his body. I want to just recover from the AIDS, the symptoms, he said, before I can take all these other drugs. Another friend of mine in exactly the same position had access to cannabis, and the relief it gave him from the horrifying nausea and side effects of the medicines enabled him to keep taking those medicines. My second friend lived, my first friend died. That's when it became personal. That's when I became convinced that this is an outrage, that people suffering with real illnesses can somehow be denied for no rational reason some means to alleviate and palliate their pain and nausea and suffering. That's true for a generation of gay men and our families, but it's also true, of course, increasingly for many, many, many more people who deal with cancer treatments and chemo, which are gaining in sophistication, but which also were cripplingly difficult sometimes to endure without the support of this. People have known, family members know, mothers and fathers know, that this thing can save people's lives and make their lives better. And they want to know why on earth the suffering and the sick cannot be taken care of in America by some stupid law based on stupid science. I have another friend who had a baby son only a few years ago. And within a few weeks, the little kid started to have seizures. It was extremely distressing and terrifying time for any parent to see an infant racked this way. And they finally diagnosed it as a form of Graham-Mal syndrome and realized in their research, smart, responsible, grown-up parents, that the only possible way to really control these seizures was by very high cannabinoid vapor that could calm and somehow tame the seizures that their kid was having. Now, you try telling those people that what they're doing should be criminal. You try and get between a parent and a sick child and prevent that parent doing what he or she can to help a suffering child. That's a huge force. If you look at society in general and you see the potency of parental love and care for their children, and the fact that this ridiculous prohibition can get in the way, that's another reason why we've broken through. The children often used as a ploy to say we should never legalize because they'll all get access to this thing, as if they don't already, has turned into some children with specific medical needs can have their lives ruined without this medication. And however much you want to finesse it, however much you want to put this into particular pharmaceuticals and repackage it as something that's not what it is, still doesn't quite have the same effect. I remember Marinol in the 90s given to my friends who were puking every hour or two, dry heaving, day after day, night after night. And all it did was give them weird dreams, make them spacey and loopy, and did not actually help. Whereas smoking it really helped. Gave them peace, rest, the ability for their bodies to actually recuperate and recover from what they were doing. So that's another incredibly powerful factor. When it gets personal for people, when your son or daughter needs it. And then, of course, There's the personal issue of those whose lives have been ruined by criminal prosecution, by criminal records, by the kind of stories that Anthony relayed. And especially the insupportable and outrageous fact that this prohibition is disproportionately inflicted upon African Americans. This is factually, objectively, and empirically a racial form of prohibition. Not in principle, but in practice. And the way in which this prohibition has devastated the prospects and the lives of so many young black men in particular, and the impact that has had on African American communities across the country, on African American families, is just appalling. And there comes a point at which that discrepancy becomes an affront, and should be an affront, to anybody of any race who wants to call themselves an American. I think that argument has now reached a critical mass too, and certainly has begun to shift opinion, probably more on the liberal side than on the conservative, but nonetheless is a kind of critical element to this. To have my own home city, Washington, D.C., poised to end this prohibition this fall. It has a powerful symbol of two things. One, we're right at your doorstep, Congress. We live right here. And many of us are working in your Congress or around it. We're down the street. You can't think of this as some distant, crazy thing. This is right here. But secondly, also, that this proud and historically strongly African-American city has the right to determine its own fate and its own future and its own policies. It's staggering to me. It's still staggering to me as an immigrant to this country. I've been here forever, but I still have this little bit of that sense of America's really weird sometimes. You just come across these bits of it and you think, what? You mean people in the capital city can't vote in Congress? We spend $1 trillion trying to get people in Baghdad to vote for their government, and people who live 3 blocks from the White House have no say? What? But I'm digressing. And then, of course, there's the fact that, yes, it is, and this is where truth comes in, scientific truth comes in, that cannabis can harm and distort and alter the brain chemistry of growing children and teenagers. That it can have some bad effects on those people, and that those individuals are currently able to get this drug anyway quite easily. So all the things that prohibition is designed to prevent, namely, especially teenagers and children getting their hands on this, prohibition is actually enabling. Not only is it enabling it, it's immediately putting children and teenagers in touch with inherently and inevitably illegal activity and criminal activity, which is something that no parent really wants to have happen to their child. One of the most important arguments that emerged in Colorado and in Washington was that prohibition was unsafe for children and teenagers. Totally reverse the argument. Point out that in a regulated legal market, you can have much better controls and much better regulation to keep this in the hands of responsible, consenting adults and not endemic among teenagers. That in fact, children need the end of prohibition. Teenagers need the end of prohibition. Teenagers need this subject to be talked about openly, to be honestly discussed, to have their parents and their families and their peers talk about it. To get rid of the stigma, get rid of the thrill of illegality, to move it towards a more responsible adult and sane way of grappling with a substance that is not that harmful to anybody who's an adult, but that can be harmful to those who are in their teenage years. Then the other thing I think that's critical in asking ourselves why we've achieved so much so quickly is that so far cannabis legalization has not been captured by either one or the other of the major political parties. That as soon as any cause becomes associated with one particular red state viewpoint or one particular blue state viewpoint, it will become deadlocked. In a terribly polarized society, nothing can happen if it becomes a part of that partisan pissing match. People oppose things they really support because it's the other team that's supporting it. That's how pathetic American politics has become. And that's why with marriage equality, it was absolutely essential, in my view, from the very beginning, especially with the question of homosexuality, that there be a conservative and Republican case for this, as well as a liberal and Democratic case for this. In fact, in some ways, I would argue, and did argue for a long time, that marriage equality was a very conservative idea. It was just your prejudices that made it seem very liberal. And I think that's also true here to some extent. I think there are both liberal cases for this and conservative cases for this. And I think it's vital that we keep the two in a creative tension, and we do not seek to expel anybody or to purge anybody for any incorrect views. That we put the cause before any of this ideological stuff, that we are grateful for converts and utterly indifferent to heretics. Everyone is welcome in this movement. Everyone is welcome to participate. Every viewpoint that can buttress this should be a part of a growing and thriving coalition of ideas and thoughts. I come at this, I must say philosophically, from a very conservative position. Now, conservative, of course, means all sorts of things to all sorts of people, and I don't mean by conservative a bunch of red state southern moralizing. I don't mean the religious right. I've been fighting them since I arrived in this country, and I have no intention of giving up that fight. For me, a real conservatism is about individual liberty. It's about assuming that other people in our society are adults and grown up and can determine and should determine the way they live their lives so long as they do not harm anybody else. It's a pretty basic, bloody principle. Don't tell me what I can do in my own home, with my own body, in a way that doesn't harm anybody else. And that's why...
Well, there you have it. True conservative principle from Andrew Sullivan at the International Cannabis Business Conference. The opening part of his speech, the entire bit, is available at my YouTube channel, youtube.com/RadicalRuss. And my apologies for all of the little phone noises. Obviously, I need to mute the phone before I start the Ustream. But hey, it was a new tech setup. It was the first time I'd ever done that, and now I know. Oh boy, thanks for joining us, everyone. Coming up next, we've got the new Viper Hour and another episode of Potpourri. So just an eclectic mix of marijuana-related music from the 1900s to the 1950s. I hope you enjoy it. For everyone here at 420radio.org, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you